Hey, my friends. You know, watching these debates and all these things that these politicians are saying and candidates and everything else, and people watching all that, I come to the conclusion that um, Americans in general practically know nothing about government or the philosophy of government. I mean, how many people have actually read the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the comments on it, um, the whole spirit and philosophy of the thing, and understand what they've read and seen and all. How many have taken courses in colleges or high school or anything like that on government? See, that's why it's so easy to manipulate people in respect to and to go towards dictatorship, towards control and power. Because if you don't have a public that's very with their eyes open, vigilant on these things, they could take our rights away in a night, because people don't know what's going on. So they don't know how to vote, they don't know how to choose candidates and things like that. So that's why I'm going to start a whole series of videos now on the philosophy of government and history of government in order to teach people about this stuff, So let's start right from the beginning. Okay, so like in ancient Egypt, the first form of government that you had in society was a monarchy. Okay, one man who was king, all right, who ruled the country and had absolute power over the people. You could put him to death if you wanted to. So the pharaoh was the monarch, the king of Egypt. Okay, and practically all the nations had the same thing. Syria, Babylon, Persia, and so forth, Now, so these guys, they ruled, okay? And when they died, their sons would take over, okay? So you had monarchs. In Israel, who had God as their in a sense, their king, who ruled them, the people didn't want him. People didn't want God as their king. They wanted a human being. And God felt insulted, so he gave him a king. But he warned them what a king would do to them, if they had him as a ruler. So, in those countries, all right, you had these monarchs. Now, Greece in Rome was different because they had what was a democracy. Okay, so the people elected the representatives directly, and these representatives would get together and they would make the laws, okay, which they execute in their place. So Greece was the first country to have a democracy, a people-ruled country, all right? And in Rome, also had a democracy. They had, senators, representatives of the people, and things like that. But even in those countries, democracy ended because Rome, when it started to attack other countries and conquer them, then you had emperors that came around. They got rid of the democratic form of government, the senators and all that. So you had emperors. And these emperors, if somebody stronger than them came around, a general or somebody, and overthrew him, then the next guy became an emperor. Or if two generals fought each other and one won the other, he became the emperor. So it was real kind of a terrible kind of a situation, in government. And one thing about these emperors is they didn't like Christians because the Christians would not burn incense to the emperor and recognize him as a divinity. So the emperor didn't like the Christians, and he would persecute and kill them. And this was around 300 years, okay? And but then the Roman Empire fell, and you had all kind of chaos and all that, and you had all these barbarians that took over the countries and ruled them and all, okay? So that was the beginning of history. Then we'll get into the rest of that, and then we'll get into government.